Welcome to Ability Assistance. My name is Phyllis Jones, Chair of the North Andover Commission on Ability Assistance.
My name is Stacy Leibowitz. I am the Secretary of the North Andover Commission on Ability Assistance.
North Andover residents, please stay tuned after the show for important information about various town announcements. Today's guest is Melissa McCarthy, Community and Volunteer Engagement Manager at Women's Money Matters. Thank you for coming on board.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I always start with, because people are interested in assisting the community of those who are of different abilities based upon personal backgrounds. Do you have a background that you'd be willing to share with us?
Absolutely. So I am a mom of two boys that are on the autism spectrum, and I have had multiple medical situations with them, and so we have a lot of experience being special needs parents and connecting with the community, and it's an honor to be here today speaking to other people that understand and are on the same playing field. So again, thank you for having me, and thank you for allowing this opportunity to share such an important information.
No,
Absolutely.
it's so important. I actually met your counterpart over at the Women's Convention where I tried to bring you this past November.
Sorry, I was working.
And it's always interesting when where you find nonprofits that can, beneficial.
Yes.
And if you think outside the box, how things can be beneficial. Can you tell us a little bit about what Women's Money Matters? Let's just start that as a baseline.
Perfect. So the person you met was actually Danielle Piscadlo, and she's the executive director for Women's Money Matters. And Women's Money Matters works to help low-income women establish financial health and well-being. The thing about Women's Money Matters is they have a one-to-one coaching opportunity. So they pair you based on who you are as a person. You fill out a questionnaire, and they'll find commonalities to be able to pair you with a coach that can meet the same need level as to what you have.
So, does the organization only service women?
The focus of the organization is solely on women because of the fact that we are an underprivileged area that is suppressed through things like women's tax, the pink tax, that we have to pay an extra 15% for buying female products, the wage gap that impacts us all. And there's a big push right now to really fight against those things because majority of people who are really struggling are single moms or people with children with disabilities that are not able to access the same resources. So the goal of Women's Money Matters truly is solely for women to encourage the discrepancy of the wage gap.
So, I'm sorry.
I was going to
we always
ask,
talk over each other.
is there an age limit? I mean, can a 16-year-old girl come, versus, somebody who's
Like a 30-year-old.
I would say for the rest of their life kind of thing. Anybody in the middle?
Absolutely, and we are growing and expanding. We are currently doing an initiative on trying to get financial futures planned and working into retirement and trying to help older establish long-term. And I think that's the wonderful thing about Women's Money Matters, and I think we've spoken about this before. They start with you at any age, between 16 and 22, and then keep going. And once you're in the program, it's there for you. There's an app base that supports you afterwards. There's community within that app base. We're all there. You're never alone.
So that's really amazing. Is there any kind of requirement for somebody? Obviously, we were just talking about the age level, that there's flexibility. Is there, for lack of a better word, an income requirement? Is there anything that you have to officially apply for, or is this open pretty much for any woman in the community to be able to use?
So the focus is on low-income women. However, we have never turned anyone away that comes in need.
So maybe somebody who's used to a six-figure salary gets divorced. Now all of a sudden they find that their combined income is a six-figure salary, and either the person wasn't working to begin with and now finds themselves having to work, or maybe their salary, their household salary gets cut in half and they need to learn a different way of living, they can come to you.
Right, and right now we are seeing a different way of living with the economy the way it is, that increased need for financial stability, we're all in a difficult position trying to recalculate and remanage what our lives look like now versus what they look like, 2 years ago. And so in January, we made a goal to hit 300 women this year. That was our hope. And just in 1 month alone, we established connections and helped 100 women.
Oh,
That's
amazing.
fantastic.
That's amazing.
So there are a lot of people in need, and
Yeah.
it's a program that's committed to really not just serving, but also fulfilling all the way through for help.
How have things changed? And I'm assuming what you're talking about right now plays right into the COVID situation, but how has things changed prior to COVID, during COVID, and now, obviously looking at inflation? What has that transition been like?
So in terms of transition for Women's Money Matters, we are now a virtual platform. And so that actually has helped our community quite a bit, because now, people who can't get out of the house because they have maybe a child with needs, or they have an elderly parent with needs, or for any given reason they're just not able to get to the meetings, we have virtual options. We also have in-person options for those people that just need to get out of the house and have that human connection because they've been at home, or they're in school, or doing something that would, inhibit them from having community outreach.
Right.
So we really try to offer multi-options to being able to get the content and feel comfortable.
And I think the virtual piece of it is so important, because now I know the address for the office is a mailing address only from what I saw on the website.
Right.
The address is in Boston, and I know that will sometimes, scare somebody, let's say in Springfield. But because you're virtual, you'll talk to anybody throughout the Commonwealth. It doesn't matter if they're in Springfield, P-Town, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, or up in Gloucester, Rockport, or any place in between.
We've had people from California and Washington and Maryland during the virtual
Really?
option.
Okay.
We do primarily service people in Massachusetts, but again, Women's Money Matters is not that square box that says, this is the criteria. If you're outside of our standard criteria, you can't be a part of it. We're aiming to help people.
That's fantastic. So if somebody who you love lives in North Andover, but the person that they love lives in Wyoming, just to pick some place, that with the virtual background, the person who lives in North Andover who sees this program, once it gets released, can tell the person in Wyoming, hey, watch this program, give them a call. The fact that you're in Wyoming isn't the issue.
Right. It won't prohibit.
And we're
service.
growing so much that we're actually starting to spread out too with our in-person programs. So we actually have a program starting on April 26th in North Adams, Massachusetts.
Okay.
That is, and you're talking about the far reaches of the state. That
Mhm.
is
So many
incredible.
times
And North
the-
Adams is
yeah.
a very needy area, that much, because I've kept up on areas of the state that might be suffering, and that can be a forgotten area because it's so far out, but I know it's a town that struggles.
Yeah, and we are really trying to make sure to hit every area that we can to provide the opportunity, because it's just so important to
Yes.
have that financial health and to feel confident in your finances, because it's total well-being. It's a holistic.
It is.
Neat.
And
It's
so many of the public assistance programs that were put in place during COVID that
Now are going
primarily
away.
single parent, single women parent families were depending upon. SNAP benefits, for example.
Oh, I was just thinking about that on the way
Yeah.
here.
SNAP benefits are being reduced to, the COVID
prior to
COVID piece
COVID,
of it
yeah.
is being removed. So now the loaf of bread you were buying pre-COVID might have been $1.50, let's say. During COVID, you had the extra benefits, so the $1.50 wasn't as difficult to manage as it might have been beforehand. Now the extra benefits are being taken away, but the same loaf of bread is maybe $2.
double, yeah, because now you have inflation, which is not being factored into it. It's like, okay, well, COVID is now become more of an endemic
Yes.
type of thing. But because of everything that has occurred, what they haven't taken into account is the fact that inflation now is going up.
Mhm.
So being able to help support people with that is a critical service.
Yes.
I want to ask, because you are expanding, which is phenomenal, how is your organization funded? How are you able to provide this resource to people?
So we are funded in several different ways, through company sponsorship, through organizational sponsorships, and most recently we just started getting supported by a couple of different corporate funders, which we've
amazing.
been blessed with many times over. I did want to touch base on the SNAP benefit.
Yes.
One of the unique things about Women's Money Matters is because they resource on their platform, the app that they offer, all the different opportunities. We've already gotten ahead of the game as far as SNAP understanding goes because
Okay.
of the housing crisis that we have, and understanding that, you know, families who are on housing vouchers or receiving housing support, there's that gap. Every
Yes.
time they make
Right.
$5, the housing costs go up $25. So, and that's just an estimate, it's not a percentage or an exact science,
Right,
but
right.
understanding that families are limited and that based on those limited interactions, how can we reframe and restructure to be able to move forward and give this family the opportunity to find their own financial success.
And for
Absolutely.
people who might be watching, we're not talking about cheating the system. We're
Absolutely not.
We're talking about working within the system for the benefit of whomever it is you're working with.
And it's not a get-rich scheme. It is
Well-
a come here, and
Yeah.
we will help you find a way to live comfortably with what you have,
Right.
so that you can make decisions as you're going
It's
forward.
stability.
Yes.
Stability and success.
Mhm.
It's not, because that is, the system can sometimes, as helpful as it can also hurt people and keep
Yes.
them in a subpar position.
It's a pattern. Mhm.
It's a pattern. And how do you use that system to get yourself into a better,
Exactly.
and like you said, it's not using the system inappropriately, but it's also not to stay in a situation that's not going to serve your family. And
I
that's,
think the first step is empowerment.
yeah.
Giving
Yes.
you the voice, telling you you have control, and that giving you the opportunity to feel like, I've got this. I can do this.
Yeah.
We're going to write my story, and I'm going to find my way to a place where I feel comfortable and I can do better.
That's
And
amazing.
you know, another population I think which would totally benefit, young women who are graduating from college right
Mhm.
now. I mean, my daughter's probably going to graduate with, dear God, probably over $100,000 worth of debt.
Mhm.
Because there's not enough funding, there's
Mhm.
not enough federal
The
funding.
student loans.
They go to the private student loans, which are even worse than the federal student
Mhm.
loans in terms of everything, and they come out, and now all of a sudden, they've got this
Mhm.
bill to pay.
Mhm.
I mean, I graduated college in '93, and I graduated law school in '96, and we're still paying back. I'll be 52 next month. That hurt to say.
I'm still paying student loans as well for my graduate program. So it's an ongoing thing. And I would even go beyond what you're saying with college, because you had mentioned 16.
Yep.
Let's just face it, in school, depending on the school, you don't always learn about finance. You learn geometry, and you learn, as the meme goes.
But you don't know how to balance a checkbook.
You don't know
anyway.
how to balance a checkbook or open a checking account or a bank account, and it's like, well, great, geometry, as the meme goes, that'll be great when I need, when parallelogram season comes by, and I need to know that.
As you just isolated everybody who loves math.
Sorry, my husband loves math, so I'm not being judgmental, but
No.
it's what are those life skills? So somebody who may be coming out of high school,
Yes.
or even before, might be able, if there are programs, talk about expanding, before they even go into college. How do you manage your money through college?
Or even the
And
kids
the
who
loans.
graduate from tech school.
Yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Or, let's face it, the girls who unfortunately find themselves in a predicament where they're now a
Mhm.
single mother,
Yeah.
pre-18.
How do you help?
So early intervention is one target that we really want to
Mhm.
start establishing stronger connections with, because it really is about starting at that root. And I'm not going to dismiss the importance of this being brought into the education system. However, one really nice thing about this unique model is it takes that stress off, where each person gets their individualized coach. So I'm going to share with you my example, because I
Please
actually
do.
Yes.
participated in this program. I'm a graduate of the program. I am a low-income woman, and I approached the program and started discussing some of my concerns. And one of my first things that I said was, I have a very different budget. I have 2 special needs children. I can't always buy the generic waffles because they're very specific to what color, what shape, what box, specific design. I can't buy the same clothing as everybody else because I need seamless. I need to make sure that it hits their sensory needs.
Yep.
And
All things that a lot of people don't even consider.
And the amazing thing was when I approached Women's Money Matters about this, they found me a coach that had experience with a special needs child within their own family, connected
That's
with me,
perfect. That's
and
amazing.
found ways to help me establish a budget and understand that my budget's flexible too. With medical needs, the budget flexes. You know, sometimes we're impatient, sometimes we're not. You know, the cost of parking, the cost of eating, all the things that typical people wouldn't understand.
Right.
But Women's Money Matters chases language. They make sure they're always verbally appropriate. They're always using the most up-to-date and current thoughtful language. They're always making sure to include everyone in any way they can and finding ways to be inclusive. And that's from my own personal experience. This isn't just someone talking from, you know, a company perspective. I feel strongly that this program is very inclusive and also very successful in the way that they offer programs because they do accommodate so many different ways of learning.
And I think that's important because people aren't cookie cutter.
No.
No.
I've yet to meet a cookie cutter human being on the entire planet.
Yeah, well, people learn differently and they have different challenges. Everybody is unique. You know, we're not one-dimensional, so being able to have a coach that really understands you and can help support you, and also the non-judgmental piece around
Yes.
that because you're already going through enough.
Mm-hmm.
So with that in mind, tell us, I mean, you've shared your personal journey, which we appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me.
No, absolutely.
That takes a lot of strength. Not everybody is willing to do that.
We all
And-
need to hear each other's voices because
Yep.
nobody should be alone.
Yep.
Thank you.
And now you work for them, which is
Mhm.
which shows so much. Take us through some of the programs. What do you do? What is it? And I won't say typical, like a typical situation, but give us some examples of the different, if you have different programming, and what is the process from the beginning when
Right.
somebody
If
reaches
I walk
out?
through the door.
Yeah, and you know, you go through the service.
So when you show interest, there can be a variety of ways. So sometimes organizations will come to us and they'll already have an established group in mind that they want us to help.
Okay.
Sometimes people from the general public will come to us. And when that happens, what usually is you go into the website and you'll enter your information, select a program of interest that we have currently up and running or that's coming in a relatively soon time period. And then we'll email respond and start connecting the pieces to get an application going. We also have that selection period where we put out feelers for volunteers because our coaches, the volunteers that we have are astounding. They come from everywhere and really are the heart of our program. We'll start selecting those. And then once that happens, they'll start looking at the applications and putting the coaches and the participants together. And then when the program just before the program launches, there'll be a coach training where the coaches will go and they'll meet and have an informal training session with one of the Women's Money Matters staff. And then the classes, once they start, it's a getting to know you where coaches and participants have a chance to follow through. And then after that, we start going through expenses and supporting. We just got a collaboration with a new program called Array that allows us to have our participants enter their information to get their credit score. And it's an interactive program where you can go in and say, I'm going to be 2 months late on my card. What's going to happen to my credit?
Yeah.
And actually see in real time what would
What's
happen to your credit so that you can see your score fluctuating. And then they have the opportunity to, and it's not all business finance. So there's lots of really fun interactive moments throughout. But when you get to the end, the hope is the small, smart goal that you've brought along with you that's been created with your coach, as well as your coach having a goal so that you both feel like this is an equitable experience and that you're both driving each other through empowerment. We can both do this. We're both going to, do this together, and we're both going to have an end goal.
That's great.
And some people come with us and they're hoping to buy a car. Some people are just trying to establish a pattern outside of the debt that they have. Some people want to buy a house. And with that, where our growing opportunities come in. So we've launched Keys to Home Buying 1 and 2 and had opportunities for people to come learn about the home buying experience. Like I told you, the retirement piece we're working on. And so it just keeps growing and growing through these awesome programs that really establish a foundation for someone to reach their own goals and feel confident in their journey.
Do you find the coaches more often than not are female? Because I know sometimes if you have an underserved woman and now they've got a male coach, it might.
We only assign female coaches.
So that a woman doesn't have to worry about walking in and now all of
Yeah.
a sudden they've got a male CPA who might be the same age as their father
And
and
it's more of this patriarchy
Or-
kind of, kind of intimidating process. So that's great because it's more like a peer-to-peer type of.
And we're
thing.
not anti-male. We don't turn male presenters away. The goal is to have that established personal connection to be there, because some of the women that come into our program, they may not have anyone. They may not have had someone that showed them consistency in their life to show up on a weekly basis for them. And so sometimes even that is the value, and so male presenters are always welcome and always very much appreciated.
That's great.
No, I think that's fantastic. I can only think of a million different ways, just in this area alone,
This can be a support.
that you could reach out. I mean,
Yeah. And being virtual, but
Yeah.
also having that face-to-face, possibility gives so many options to people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's,
how long has Women's Money Matters been around?
So, Women's Money Matters has only been around for a short time period. I don't remember what
That's-
year.
that's
I
okay.
apologize.
Years?
I believe it was 2009 when the program
okay,
launched.
but that's a decent amount of time,
Yes.
though. That's
Yeah.
not bad.
Yeah, I apologize. I can't remember off
No,
the top, and I
that's
don't
okay.
want to misspeak.
And of
But
course,
it's at
I
least
asked
10
the question.
Yeah, but
Yes.
it's at least 10 years, and that's still, that's really critical, especially the way things have evolved.
Mhm.
You've got an
So-
idea of how the market's moved. You're coming out of first, you had I guess really it was a recession in 2008,
Mhm.
and then some stability, and then you're dealing with COVID
Yeah.
and inflation again, and that's usually a
So-
cyclical cycle of about roughly a decade anyway.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
So-
that makes sense. So you've been through that gamut. And I guess just to bring the conversation, because I want to make sure we do address this in the few minutes we have left, working with disabilities, I know you have, we had talked prior about ABLE accounts, and I'm spacing on the other, it's ABLE and STABLE.
Able and stable.
Stable.
Can you talk to us a little bit about how you support women, especially women who may have a disability themselves, or maybe they're supporting their children who have disabilities? What is the counseling around that you provide to people?
So I don't know that we've had any direct counseling around able and stable accounts. I can tell you the experience that I have with able and stable accounts, and that, again, we are an inclusive environment. So any opportunity to learn more together, we are doing. So a stable account is more, it's accepted by every state, and it is an opportunity to put funds away that do not restrict those on Social Security benefits.
Okay.
So most people on state benefits are limited to a certain amount of funds, traditionally $2,000, at which any time they can hold. Otherwise, they could lose their benefits.
And let's face it, $2,000 is not,
It's not much.
It is not,
at least
absolutely.
in this day and age.
No. And I'm not here to sell you on either product because, again, we're not connected to these products
Right.
directly.
Right.
But the stable account allows you to put $17,000 away a year. The ABLE account is $14,000 a year. And then it has benefits with the opportunities to be able to invest those funds. So those funds are actually invested for you while they're in those accounts.
Almost like an IRA or a 401k.
You know, that's what I
Some-
said too,
yeah.
is similar. But the thing is that you can't take the funds out unless it's justifiable funds. So those funds have to be used for purposes of, you know, life needs, medical needs, expenses related to overall well-being.
Almost like health insurance, where you have those health insurance cards that you can use them for certain things. You pay into it and you use it for certain
Yeah,
things.
that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking too as well. So I was thinking about the fact that, you know, we can have it taken out of our paychecks, but for
Like the
people,
flex and all of that.
right,
Yeah.
this wouldn't be able to be directly taken out of a paycheck, but it can be put away and established and held while you're, you know, saving funds for certain things or certain medical needs. The only downside that we found was that the ABLE account, if the person is to pass, those funds are sometimes collected back by the government. So that is a downside,
That
but
is a downside.
the stable account, again, not selling any products here,
Yep.
the stable account gives you an opportunity to pay off expenses that maybe have not been completely paid off first
For that individual.
for that individual. And then after that, if there's leftover funds, Medicare or any state processing that needed those funds back would come for the funds.
Well,
Right.
I guess that makes sense. You've
Right.
received public funds.
Right.
Unfortunately, you're not going to need them after you've
Right.
passed.
Mhm.
Unless, the only thing I can think of is if you have a parent who passes and the child has conditions and could utilize the money as well if they don't have their own accounts, but.
But that might be a lawyer, I would imagine, managing the ABLE account if something happens to the parent, because the parent would be overseeing that account.
Yeah, so
If-
there is always someone assigned
Yeah.
to the account as
Right.
well. There's never a single person account,
Right.
there's a proxy on it.
Right.
So
then
that's,
somebody else can pick up on it, but it's if that person being served by the account passes away, then that's when it might be brought back to government, in other words, that they may take that
absolutely.
as a payment towards whatever benefits they had received.
So it's not free money,
Right.
as a lot of people might think.
Right.
No, absolutely not. And those, you know, a lot of people don't have certain things covered by medical insurance. I know for myself, I have a child with lung disease, and we were not entitled to a portable oxygen concentrator. We needed to have pay it out of pocket, which a lot of families have to do. So, you know, between $2,000 and $8,000 for a portable oxygen concentrator.
That's a lot of money.
Mhm,
Yeah,
to be
that's
put away.
extensive.
Yeah, it takes away from the family's opportunities to be able to, one, travel, and you wouldn't think of travel as, you know, always a journey, the experience and fun, but even things to medical appointments.
Yeah.
You know, we went to Colorado, and we were lucky enough to have Angel Flights take us. And
They're such a wonderful
Yeah, they are.
organization.
they truly are. And so Angel Flights gave us flights to different hospital appointments, but first we needed that POC. And this opportunity gives you a chance to save for those things too. And from Women's Money Matters standpoints, it's again about financial planning.
Right.
How can we do this transfer, this switch over? What expenses do we have? How can we recalibrate? And just going from there.
So having that support is really critical. So somebody like you or another coach, to have that relationship with somebody who has a family situation, and number one, the recalibration and understanding how to budget, but also knowing what potential resources. And again, you're not selling a product, but you're saying, here are your options to take a look at what a stable account is, look at what the ABLE accounts are. So you're giving somebody options as well, and kind of helping them, they make that decision as to what works best. But you're educating people, which is so critical, because
Which, yes.
many
that's-
times they don't have that.
Well, we could probably go on for hours. I
Yeah.
know when we did our pre-show phone call.
That was quite a
It was a
get
long
to know you,
conversation,
but
but
it
it was
wonderful.
great.
It really was.
It really was.
Yeah.
And maybe we can, as Women's Money Matters expands in terms of their
have
programs,
you
maybe
back.
we can have you back and explain what other programs you've brought on and how the organization has expanded as the population that you service has expanded as
Yeah.
well.
Absolutely, and you know, I would love to invite you to the opportunity at any point in time to come to one of our programs and experience.
We would love to do that.
You know,
Please.
maybe even come and volunteer during or present. We would love to hear you present from your perspective, you know, we're growing and we always take opportunities to
So you
listen.
don't want me to have anything to do with money. I am like
Guess what?
the worst person in the world.
You do not need to have experience.
Okay.
We wrote the program. All you have to do is show up, empower, and be ready to engage
I would
with materials that
I
we
think
have.
that would be phenomenal.
That really would.
Thank you.
Thank you for that
This is
opportunity.
so exciting.
We learn together.
Yes.
Let's
Yes,
grow
we do.
together.
That's amazing, and thank you so much. Unfortunately, our time has run down.
Absolutely, and thank you
But-
again.
No, and thank you, because I think this is such a valuable, excuse me,
Especially in
service
today's.
for our North Andover population, but beyond, because obviously the show, as Phyllis will say at the end, you know, is on multiple platforms. So I think this is an incredible resource for people in our area. So thank you again.
Absolutely, and thank you.
And we look forward to maintaining contact with you.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see you in the classroom.
Oh. You can email Melissa at mmccarthy@womensmoneymatters.org, or you can call the office at 617-297-7376. You can learn more about Women's Money Matters at womensmoneymatters.org. Now, this information is special just for North Andover residents. The town of North Andover is seeking to fill vacancies on many boards and commissions. Each board and commission has its own obligations. If you're interested in volunteering, please visit the town's website at www.northandoverma.gov and click on Board and Committee information on the left-hand side of the page to complete a volunteer form. Please contact Jillian Brothers with any questions at jbrothers@northandoverma.gov or 978-688-9510. And believe it or not, the air conditioners will be coming on sooner rather than later. Are you prepared for your higher electricity usage? If you're not registered with the town's Community Choice Power Supply Program, it might be time to check it out. You can call Colonial Power Group at 866-485-5858, extension 1, to learn more. However, and this is key, you must opt in order to obtain the town contracted rates. You can also go to colonialpowergroup.com/North Andover, or again, call 866-968-8065 and ask to join the Town of North Andover's program.
Thank you to our crew this month. From GLTS, Alex Santiago. From North Shore Academy, Zachary Jones. John Kafori, a GLTS alum and currently at American Training. Cassie Buonanno, sorry, GLTS alum, we're happy to have you. Lyric McCarthy, Minuteman Technical High School. Sebastian McCarthy, Seams Middle School.
And we're already booking into next season.
That's good.
Yeah, it's very good.
It's a good problem to have.
Join us in May, while we're still in this season, when State Representative Trom Nguyen will be here discussing her legislative agenda for this, I can't even say upcoming session anymore, it's this session. And our season will end in June with our guest, Minnie Meva. Next season, we'll start off with our October guest, Maternal Mental Health Leadership Alliance. We're actively looking and booking guests for our November, December, and January 2020 episodes. Hold my hand.
24.
We are actively finalizing dates for State Senator Barry Feingold, State Rep Andrea Ramos, Essex County District Attorney's Office, Paul Tucker, Governor's Council member Eileen Duff. I recently spoke to American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and just so many more. We're consistently looking for new topics to explore here on Ability Assistance, and we would truly love to know, what topics would you want more information about? If there's a specific topic you'd like to learn more about, please email me at pjones@northandoverma.gov or call me directly, 978-494-0136. And in addition to watching through your traditional cable station, you can catch all of our programs on demand via YouTube, the Cablecast app through Roku and Apple TV, that's always my favorite, the North Andover CAM website, and via podcast on Podbean. Until next month, thank you.
Take care.